We should now be out towards live. If you're inclined to start the meeting, we can.
Yep. Everybody, you got everybody squared away.
Good.
Oh, who's taking some notes? Anybody take some notes and minutes for us?
I would happily do it, but I gotta leave early, so I'll volunteer for December.
Tim,
I can't find a pen.
well, use a pencil then.
I can't find a pencil, seriously. No one's
Yeah.
here. It's embarrassing.
Here, you can borrow mine.
I-
Throw it, will you? Yeah, I got one.
All right.
Hopefully it
Thank you,
works.
Tim.
All right.
All right, so call to order the November 4, 2020 Poolsville Parks Board meeting. It's 7:07, and we have Doug McKinney, Seth Rivard, Jeff McIntyre, John Strong, Patrick Trainer, and I saw where'd Carrie go? Saw her before.
She's there.
Carrie, and I'm here. Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
And Preston.
I don't have enough boxes around my screen.
I'm here. I was just on mute.
Okay,
I got them all.
you got everybody, Tim?
Yep.
Okay. So we'll call to order there. Any announcements other than we have on the agenda? Next meeting will be
no,
December
no,
9. What's that? I'm sorry.
No other announcements besides the next meeting.
So the
date.
next meeting is December 9. Okay. And then it's all, okay, so do you know, Seth, do the individuals who are in the waiting room have anything to do with commenting on our agenda items?
That probably should also be retitled just citizens, public comment. That needs to be public comment. So
Yeah.
we can treat it as well. And like I said, there is one person who is here. I'll admit them into the room and they can make their public comment.
Okay.
Are you able to hear us? Can you hear us?
I'm on a call.
Hello? Hello?
Who's
Hello.
on?
Hi there, welcome.
You're before the Board of Parks and Recreation. This would be your time to take a few minutes to describe what you'd like to do and what you're proposing to the Board of Parks and Recreation. Thank you for attending.
Yeah. All right. My name is Noah, and this is my friend Cage. We're two 8th graders from JPMS who like skateboarding. My friends and I really enjoy going to the skate park almost every day. The skate park was recently vandalized with hateful content. Our goal is to give the skate park a facelift by giving the skate park a fresh cleaning and a good cleaning and a fresh coat of paint in an artful way.
To make this happen, we're gonna need some volunteers to paint the skate park, but we also need some blueprints so we can get the cost down because we don't have the exact measurements. We'll need some donations of like paint rollers, paint brushes, and John from the hardware store offered us wholesale pricing on paint, so that should help with cost. We hope this will improve our community and respect for the skate park. So we also think that streetlights would help deter unwanted behavior. So like if there's people there, they would be more focused on skating instead of vandalizing stuff. Thank you.
Are there, I got a couple questions, I guess. What are you going to paint, or is it going to be just some sort of free-form thing, or are you going to try and actually make paint?
We have some
I'm
pictures.
thinking of like recoloring it and then adding some like little designs.
Are you able to share the picture right here?
Yeah, I'll just screen share. Oh,
Let me
Uh,
see.
all right, it's disabled.
Let me
Okay.
do this. You should be able to screen share now.
All right, I think
You're welcome.
right here
That one.
and share. Yeah, we want to.
Just an idea.
Yeah, this is just a little idea we have, but like we go and like recolor the little spots of the skate park, and then add little designs. Like right now, there's a little like spray painted dinosaur that people like. We want to kind of like redesign that there, so that like people are less likely to spray paint over it.
All right. That looks interesting.
I like the colors.
Yeah. So when do you think you're going to do this?
We don't know yet, but
Whenever we get permission.
yeah,
To.
whenever we like have everything to do it.
But they're here
Is
before
this-
you.
is this-
Go ahead. They're
Is
here
this
before you
also,
to get permission, so.
is this also and I may have missed it at the beginning, is this also a project that you can take credit for in school for something or not? Either SSL hours
SSL
or,
hours.
Yeah, SSL hours.
Boy
That would be
Scouts. We could do
great.
it for Boy Scouts.
And
say that again?
You could do it
Boy
for Boy Scouts, SSL hours.
yeah, we could do it for like the Boy Scouts, the SSL hours.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, on both
Good.
counts. So I like your idea about well, I like this for a couple reasons. I like this because hopefully it will be less vandalized, maybe not vandalized at all, given the fact that Poolsville community youth have put time and effort into making it look interesting while painted.
Mhm.
Now, why did you come up with the monitoring idea with respect to something watching the
So
facility?
that's like less likely that people like go up and
And,
think they could get away with just vandalizing and putting hateful content all over the skate park.
What do you think your other schoolmates and friends in that are gonna think? Do you think they're gonna react the same way?
Yeah,
I think-
everyone's gonna like it. I
Yeah.
mean, everyone who goes there, we all love it. It's our home away from home, to say it.
Have
Definitely.
you guys talked to the other
I-
people who
we-
hang
Yeah.
out?
Yeah,
at
we
the
went
skate
and
park?
talked to a few locals. Yeah, some people that go to the skate park a lot. They like the idea.
You guys
Hey,
are
Doug,
both
can I
Poolsville
ask you-
residents?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
Do you
can I
know-
ask a question?
Good.
yeah,
Um,
go ahead, Pat.
did, and maybe Preston can chime in on this too, but did John Spielman give any, at the hardware store, did he give any advice on the type of paint?
Yeah,
Yeah.
paints or
Concrete
concrete
stain.
stain.
Yeah,
Because
if you
the
want-
paint, if we painted it, it would only last for about a week. But if we stained it, it would last for a very long time.
Yeah. So he
Um,
wants us to use some concrete stain.
Okay.
Okay, and that could be applied, I've heard of standing concrete before as it's getting poured, but that can be applied after the fact?
Yes.
Yes.
Preston, do you have any thoughts on that?
It's a good idea. Actually, I always thought if we painted thousands of sunflowers on it, it would be cool.
That would be
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
That would be extremely cool.
But,
Yeah, because that's something.
no, it's a great idea. I mean, when you get young people invest in a project, they normally have a tendency to take, watch out for their project also.
Yep.
So I think it's a good idea.
And the concrete stain is the proper,
And staining it, what's nice about stain is that it doesn't affect the surface.
Yeah.
Because see, when you paint something, you could add maybe a slipping, a texture on the wall. Now, what would probably we'd have to do if they go that route, we might have to bring in a professional, or we might have to rent something to get the existing paint off.
Yeah.
Because that with that paint on it, the pores have already been sealed, so the stain most likely would not perform the way it's designed.
Could you pressure wash it first, Preston?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got to pressure wash it. to
We
clean
would.
it.
We could give it a try, but we might have to go with a sand blaster, just
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
previous experience, and we could rent one if we had to.
But the
'Cause you
other,
have to prep the surface. The surface still has to be prepped so
Right.
that, so it absorbs properly.
yeah.
Would you have to etch it with like an acid or something? That's what I've done
No.
before.
No, I've
No.
never dealt with that before.
All right.
The other
Um,
reason it's a good idea it'll help us because of they've had to use some paint to cover up the vandalism. That stuff is very it's like slippery. It doesn't have
Yeah.
the same texture as concrete or the skate park concrete, and it's very slippery. And I've crashed a couple times going around there
Yeah.
because it's super slippery and stuff.
Especially on the vertical, like the completely
Oh,
vertical
dude.
parts of the skate park.
Doug, can I ask one more question?
Yeah,
Do we have the schematics or blueprints for the skate park? And gentlemen, is it possible for you guys to, if we can get that to you, to give us a mock-up of what it would look like?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
think
is.
so.
We just need the measurements so we can go to John and get the estimate on like painting price and stuff.
John.
But also
John
just like,
Strong.
hey, here's whatever, the schematics of the skate park. Here's where we plan on painting each color. Here's what we plan on this
Yeah.
design.
And like
Um,
basically, this is like the idea. We need a rough draft and then the final plan of it.
Right,
Gotcha.
right,
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Excellent.
So John Strong and Seth, we certainly have those drawings somewhere, right?
Correct.
So if we can get a copy or two, then the boys give them an opportunity to kind of draw on it and figure out what they got to do.
Sure. On the stain, that was originally sealed when they built it. So it probably does need to be acid etched. It's a
Okay.
low, it's just, it's a spray etch. So,
Right.
that-
Can they do that?
with the proper precautions, sure.
Do we need to? All right, then who might we need to have on site to kind of help make sure nothing goes wrong?
It could be just a town person, that's all. You
That's
just,
Okay,
you know,
okay.
It's
Preston,
not-
you good with that?
I've never done it before, so I would want to, investigate it a little bit, see what's required, see if there's any special clothing or anything required for, just make everything safe.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, good.
Okay, so I think we're at the stage that we think this is pretty good and interesting project. I think what we like from you guys, obviously, is to get the drawings, which will help you get to them, get a stronger list as to what you're gonna need to do with it, etching or whatever, or how much it's gonna cost and so forth, and the proposed design, and then come back to us so that we have something more formal to sign off on. And I would, we'll make judgments or decisions at that point in time, but I wouldn't see a problem with anything.
Right.
All right, yeah.
Everybody agree?
Yeah, thank you for the time and support.
Could
Thank
I get your names, please?
Oh yeah, I'm Noah Tawarga.
I'm Cage Tupa.
No one, Cage or Gage? Sorry.
Gage.
Spell it.
Kage.
Kage. Okay, cool. All right, thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
When,
Look forward to seeing you again.
Good luck.
when you,
By the way, what's behind you?
Oh, that's my dad's painting.
He did that.
Really?
That's cool. So go back to that painting.
Yeah.
Get Doug off the screen.
There you go.
Wow. Look at that.
Oh,
huh?
that's cool.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you,
right.
guys.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Thank
Can
you.
we get something like that on the skate park?
That'd be cool.
Yeah, dude.
You can.
Okay, I'm gonna chime in for real quick.
And who are
We
you
don't want
serving?
it to be, we don't want it to be too complicated because we want volunteers and everyone, my vision for them is to almost make a giant number painting.
Okay, I got you.
Where
Yeah.
everyone does their, does their part. Everything's all clean and unified in a way.
Yeah.
But that's the best way, I think, to have these young kids work together. We got to kind of break it, make it a little bit more simpler.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And
It
well,
will look good.
yeah.
That's our goal.
otherwise, yeah. I mean, if you put something too complicated down there, they're gonna be dizzy while they're flying by it anyway.
Right,
So,
right.
you gotta make it somewhat plain.
Yeah, we were
something-
just complimenting your painting.
Hey,
Thanks.
something,
I realize I can't, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah. That's
hey guys, something we need to think about if we do go with that, we might have to choose a weekend to shut it down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be.
Or it might be a couple more, if we have to prep it, I'm just saying which I would think, we could pick a weekend, prep it on Friday, guys come in Saturday and girls come in Sunday, and,
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday, get it knocked out. And because as you know, the park is very popular. So
Yeah.
we should probably, if we do it,
Yeah.
put some notifications out, just set a time period away for it.
No, in Cage, I would also look into the temperature of the stain also,
All right.
the outside temperature. You might have to do this in the spring,
Yeah.
coming into warm, cooler weather now. So,
Definitely.
To sort of Preston's point and Mr. Pike's point is just timeline of, I know we've got to get you some plans so you can start mocking that up. You'll want to take some time with that. Our next meeting is December 9th. You may or may not meet that. Then we would meet in January. I know you have my email because I sent you the invite, but let's just plan to give a little bit of heads up to me so I can give things to the commission so they can kind of take a look at what you're proposing, and then we'll invite you back to that other meeting. We'll have an agenda item and we can talk about it, but it just kind of gets everybody on the same page once we get to a meeting, and they'll kind of see what you're sketching up.
All right.
So you guys can communicate by email and get approval from them before you ask to be on the agenda for the meeting again.
Yeah.
We'll nail down the details. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good
Alright.
one.
Bye.
Looking forward to seeing it.
good job, guys.
Have a nice
Thank
night.
you. Have a nice
Thanks,
night.
you too.
Thank you.
All right. So
Mr.
back to
Mr. Chairman, just in regards to the agenda, once we maybe go through the approval of the minutes, we might want to take new business number 1, since we have some folks in the waiting room wanting to speak. And then maybe go to the agenda in reverse order, because the resident on Chiswell is watching this via YouTube. We talked the other day. If you have questions of her, I can shoot her a email and she can come in, but I think she's probably gonna be happy with your recommendation that we've provided to you. So I say all that to say we probably might want to work the agenda in reverse order once we get through the.
yeah, well, I'm looking at the new business as a larger discussion. And I'd like to get the other two things settled maybe, or at least one of the old businesses. So if you don't mind, let's try and do the old business with the understanding that we need to not dwell too long because we got to get to new business.
Okay.
So Nature Trail Paths.
How about approval of the minutes? I'm sorry, Doug.
You're right. I'd forgotten. Yes.
September 9th is the first one. I bet we have to approve.
Yes.
Yes, that one, and then the special meeting, and then the October. So any comments, changes, or recommendations with respect to the September meeting minutes?
September 9th.
9th.
9th, 2020.
Yeah. Hearing none, entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the September 9 meeting minutes.
Been moved. Your second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions?
Aye.
Or,
I wasn't there, so I
Okay.
guess I'm staying. Yeah.
okay,
So what is that? 6? How many are there?
5.
501, right?
Yeah.
And the next minutes were from from September 16th.
Okay. No,
Same thing. Any comments or
That's the
questions?
special meeting, I think, right?
That's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah, we're doing this, the
I
middle
was
one,
not
right?
there, so I can't make a motion.
What about the 16th September?
Is that the one that's marked as a special meeting?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
okay.
It's, hey, the only comment I've got on that is that Morgan is listed in there 3 times, and I think he had already resigned at that point.
I thought he was on the meeting.
Yeah, I think this was, I think he resigned after that.
Yeah, he was on that meeting.
Was it after or was it before? I mean,
It was after that meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
was it? Okay. Then no worries, sorry.
No, good point, though.
All right, need a motion?
Motion, we approve the minutes of September 16th, 2020.
Moved,
Second.
seconded.
By who,
Any
Jeff?
further- Yeah, Jeff, Jeff.
Yeah.
If you
yeah.
got- I can only see the speaker. I can't see everyone. Oh, Gary. Okay, I gotta get it. Okay.
Any further discussion, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying yes. Aye.
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 Any opposed or, well, yeah, and everybody was here, so. Third
I
one,
abstain.
Pat's an abstention.
what's that?
Pat was an abstention. He
Yeah, it
wasn't
was,
there.
yeah, all right, that's right, he wasn't there.
I wasn't at this
Yeah.
meeting.
Well, then you're listed on the
No, then he's, well,
president.
he's listed in the meeting minutes as being there.
Yeah, you gotta change that then.
Okay. You didn't, you didn't participate by phone? Pat?
No, I did not.
Okay, all right, okay. All right, so we'll have to, well, we can approve it with the change.
Yes.
Delete his name.
So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
501.
Any abstentions? Yes. One. Okay. All right, and the third one, which is the October one here, right? October 7?
That's most recent.
Yes.
All right, the only one not present was Carrie Cook. Okay, we're all present for that one.
Okay. Any comment, and entertain a motion?
Make
Motion,
a
we
motion.
approve.
We
Go ahead.
second.
Okay, it's Jeff and Pat moved and seconded.
Tim and Pat.
Any further discussion, comments, changes? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposition? None, no abstentions.
I was absent.
Abstention, yeah, Carrie wasn't there. Okay. All right,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Should be 501. Tim.
501. Okay. I'm sorry. Does Carrie vote usually on minutes, or she can, right?
yeah.
Then how come it was 501 for the other ones? We have 6 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I count. All right, you got it. I'm sorry. 501.
Okay.
Some of these
Oh,
folks
Pete.
aren't actually on the board.
Yeah, John Strong. Yeah, I'm counting him.
Okay, nature trails and paths.
Certainly. You can see my staff report here, and I will bring in what Jeff had sent to you all this evening as well into focus. So at the last meeting, the question was, we still needed to figure out a little bit more information to make an informed decision, particularly what the cost of permitting would be to go through the national wetlands, what the wetlands that is on the national wetlands inventory in the floodplain. So the floodplain and the wetlands are overlapped in this case. And so John Strong, he's here with us tonight and we'll be able to speak to this. He was able to take a look at what the permitting cost would be to go through this process. And as I noted, my staff report does not include construction, would be $20,000 in permits. This, as I noted at the end of my staff report, this would probably be a reasonable project for the capital improvement budget so that it could be set aside over time, and then implementation of this project as well. As we noted in previous meetings, this is very similar to the crossing at Tama 1 to Tama 2. Same exact sort of situation that had to be addressed there. And, clearly it was, and a trail was installed through there. In the middle of my staff report are still some of these outstanding issues. We haven't really considered the rest of the trail at this point for stormwater management. Again, marking the boundaries with some no trespassing signs. I'm not sure how you really address the length of the trail with the emergency service thing. That's for you all to discuss. That's still something you want to. John and I have talked about the bridge requirements, but that again is not necessarily insurmountable because once you get past the Beaver Pond area and floodplain, for the most part, we're on the opposing side of the floodplain and won't have any further crossings. I do want to note that this trail was shown in the 2011 master plan that was adopted by the town commission. If you're aware, all master plans are a community vision process in which the community is deeply involved in. So the, addition of this trail to our network would be carrying out that vision as laid out in the 2011 master plan. The way John and I have discussed at least the trail through the Beaver Pond is that we could make it ADA accessible so that all of our residents could enjoy this amenity and be able to get down there. We might sort of have, clearly we'll have to have some decking across there, but maybe we'll have a little bump out where people sit, enjoy themselves in tranquility for a little bit. And again, this really comes to the conclusion that this probably is something that really fits a CIP type approach, so we can kind of plan it into a long-term budget and begin to implement some of these things. But the underlying issue is here is we found that the cost in engineering is not insurmountable. And that was really one of the biggest questions we had. Jeff did provide to you tonight the image from the National Wetlands Inventory, which, as I believe I may have noted in my staff report, essentially mirrors the area and size of the floodplain. So those have been considered. I don't know if I'm here, John's here, or if you have other questions.
I did have one initially, where we cross Horsepen Branch. John, is that also, at least from what I'm looking on that website, it says you're going across a whatever ravine habitat that's classified as a whatever R4SBC. I don't know what that means, but is that another place where we would have to address the wetlands issue?
So let's just discuss this a little bit. So for permitting purposes for floodplains, we have to go through Montgomery County for that. That goes through a fellow by the name of presently Bill Musico. They look at the 100-year floodplains. The wetlands, of course, that's a different issue that has to go up through Baltimore. And there's three ways of dealing with that. And one is avoidance, of course. The other is minimization. And that's typically what you do at with the type of boardwalk situation that you have at the present time. And then the other is mitigation, where we go ahead and basically do a restoration on some other part of a flood or wetlands area that used to be that's in poor condition. So probably what we're looking at is minimization. The horse pen, the feed that comes down from, if you will, from the Westerly Grove subdivision, that's what feeds that area of where the Beaver Pond is. And we would we'd have to look into it deeply to determine what the conditions are. That actually is just a mapped area. And if it's under 30 acres, it may even get pulled out of the floodplain condition. So it would need to be looked at that during that process. So the water that comes down through through to the beaver pond. What we were talking about at this point was carrying it down, you know, where the old foundation of the old house is, correct? Up off the roadway.
Mhm.
Okay. And what we were looking at was bringing the ADA trail down through there to the beaver pond and creating a boardwalk area there to minimize the impact on the wetlands. Then probably, if the trail were to continue, again, a boardwalk up to a point where it's out of the wetlands area. It may still be in the floodplain, but it may not be until we do the mapping, the official mapping of it. And then going up to the high ridge line going across. So we're trying to minimize that impact that could take place on the wetlands.
Now,
Yeah, I guess when I'm looking at the map here, I guess the Horse Pen Branch, at least that's the name I'm using. It's listed, it comes down from Willard's property. It comes down, it looks like, and it would, if it were extended, it would go all the way down to, like, I think, was that Helmos? That's where I'm talking about, where we've got it. Like, I'm thinking we would need another bridge there. So I didn't know if that was something we needed to consider.
So the approach that we're taking, at what we were asked to look at, would be the upstream side of putting the where it enters into the pond, that portion of the horse pen. Jeff, can you want to put that up on the
Yeah,
screen?
so I guess that's where I'm kind of like with the terminology. I'm not sure what Horse Pen Branch is, whether it's just this part that comes in.
It's the stream
off of the Willard's property, or if it's up farther.
It actually, if you go all the way up, you know where Westerly Grove is, correct?
Yeah.
That's the new development,
You know where
right?
the terminus, it's near the terminus of Bodmer. There's a group of trees up there. Okay, that horse pen.
Oh, there we go.
That area up above there, well, they went before the Corps to get a LOMAR on that, and it, yeah.
So yeah, there's Seth is showing you what I'm looking at.
Exactly,
Sure.
exactly, right there. That area in there did not meet the criteria for being in a floodplain because it wasn't served by 30 acres, a minimum of 30 acres. So that was taken out of that. It still is considered, it most likely is considered still, it's a part of a forest conservation easement now. That's considered to be a wetlands area. So that's the headwaters, if you will, of the area that's served. The Horse Pen Branch is just the name of the branch that goes all the way down to the Potomac, correct?
So I guess Mike, what I was referring to is right there on the screen where it says Horse Pen Branch. That's the part I was wondering, do we need to, for wetland issues?
We won't know that until we won't know that until we do what they call an NRI FSD to determine what the conditions are and what and that would be part of the requirements that we would have. So we don't have that information at the present time. We would need to go ahead and look at it and determine whether it is, and it doesn't matter if it's delineated or not. When we do the NRI FSD, we have to come up and determine exactly what those are. But what we're talking about, and
I'm sorry, I'm trying to get this to come in a little bit so we can focus on it. Here it is, right here.
Yeah.
So to Jeff's point, though, in this regard, I'm hoping it doesn't jump too much, but I'm going to go up a little bit on this. You know, the wetland inventory are the green items, but here we would probably just be dealing with a relatively narrow floodplain area. I got to imagine there might be something there potentially But as John says, it may be limited enough at this point where the floodplain is more confined to this. And I think that's also representative, and I don't have it up, and I will pull up in a minute, but I think it's also representative of actually in your packet, actually, in your packet is something that looks like this everybody has. So if you scroll down, I'll highlight it. I'll open up the packet, but there is no floodplain where Jeff was concerned about where we have to cross. And again, it's shown on here because there's nothing that veers off to the left of these maps showing a floodplain. So in part, John, that sort of helps answer that question of
Right.
that issue.
Right.
Yeah, I
Doesn't-
guess.
High
where I
ridge,
was just-
pretty good.
where I don't understand the terminology, I guess. That's where I'm glad John's here, because when I'm on the website, I click on it and it's called a riverine, whatever that is, a system riverine.
Right.
which-
Right. That's the best way to think of it, I guess, is a narrow, you may call it a creek. It's a narrow body of water. It may be seasonal in nature. Because of the nature of it, that it flows. But if you ever had a large enough storm, and I'm not sure, I have to go back and look. I think that all they've delineated at this point is the 100-year. The yellow areas typically are 500-year flood areas. So you're looking at a 500-year storm that would create a backup that could create a floodplain issue. Now, whether it's in the wetlands or not, again, you have to go ahead and do the delineation. And there's several criteria for that. It can be simply soil types that are present. But until you do that delineation, which is part of the natural resource inventory or stand delineation, you won't know for sure. So
Gotcha.
that'd be one of the.
Mr. Chairman, can I just comment real quick?
Yeah.
So I just trying to kind of focus the conversation here. Is this now beyond the scope of what these two gentlemen that have come to us for a senior project? Is this beyond the scope of what they can do?
This is
You're asking me, I think the answer to that is, yeah, it is. It's beyond their scope.
okay. So let me put that into focus a little bit, Pat, as well as that's 100% true. It's well beyond their scope of this project for sure. This has sort of been taken up a little bit as a point of long-term potential interest, and I guess that's where it would go into CIP and start to begin to flesh these things out a little bit. Our biggest hurdle, John has answered from there, but that's where
Gotcha.
we're at.
Okay, so that, I think just for having John here and talking about what we need to do, it kind of brought that into focus that this is beyond what these two young men, I think it's an ambitious project, but it's beyond what they can do. But what is that needed from the board at this point to further this along? I mean, it's already in the master plan.
Yeah.
We don't have a budget. We can't say, hey, we need to go order this, this
Well,
survey done.
Right.
Or
My
CIP, I think John called it.
Yeah.
So what,
Doug, if I could just jump in, I
sure.
think the role at this point of the board would be to provide a recommendation back to the town commission that this is in your 2011 master plan. It's something we've investigated a little bit ago, right? That's what we've been sort of doing since July. This is one of the tasks you've all said would be reasonable because you can't give a blind recommendation. You've got more vision to this now, and that over time, the town should start to incorporate some amount of pay-as-you-go, as we do with all of our projects pretty much, and begin to think about implementing this and putting some dollars aside through the town's capital improvement budget to implement this and execute a vision that's been outlined in the 2011 master plan.
but before we can make that recommendation, don't we even know whether, what we have to have this study that John's talking about done?
I think you're right.
Well,
How can we make a recommendation if we don't know if we can actually do it?
Well, I think where we started this discussion was is this even feasible, right? And so what we're finding is that
Right.
it's feasible, but I don't think right now is the time to take $20,000 and conduct this. I think that's the purpose of maybe making this recommendation, putting the CIP and maybe putting
Yeah.
$5,000 or $8,000 away a year till we kind of do what we do with our pay-as-you-go program is we get enough dollars and
And
then
we're talking about just this CIP study. We're not talking about the cost of construction, and everything else.
that's correct. So I mean, that's probably, another 20,000 as well, maybe a little bit more than that, but
I mean, in my mind, I think that in recognition of what Seth was saying as to putting it in our budget so that it's there, but I think it would be something that we would, personally, it would, in my mind, would be on the lower end of need or interest, that there are other better or more important projects related to town's trails and betterment for the residents than the Horse Pen Trail.
Yeah, I have to jump off. I hate to have to do this, but I have to. So my comment, I think, would be, I kind of look at some of the projects we've done in the past where we get community involvement and get community input as to how we should proceed further. I would love to kind of see what's the demand for the trail. It's like the dog park. When we passed the dog park, or when we recommended to the town that they build a dog park, there was huge community demand for the dog park. Same with the skate park.
Yeah.
And Campbell Park was another example of that. There's community demand to get these things done. And so I think if we incorporate the community, get their input, have their say, maybe, have a subcommittee,
I mean,
figure out, which way to go with it. Because
in general, I mean, I don't think this has been a popular project, shall we say. It's been brought up more than once, maybe a couple, 3 times now. Generally, most people are not in favor of it. But
I mean, I don't know if that's, to be fair, Doug, I don't know if that's true. Maybe on the board, we just think we need to do a little bit more,
no, there was way back when this was
Oh,
a
I'm
contentious
sorry.
item.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, so
I mean, and I got to hop. So, but my 2 cents would, I guess my gut is saying it, and what I think we need to do is get the community involved, figure out what we're going to do before we can even recommend doing the CIP, because
to get anybody,
recommend doing a CIP it's like a trail to nowhere. If nobody knows it, nobody will use it. You know what I mean?
Which is why I don't even necessarily know that we need to get anybody involved or interested in it, because I think right now the interest is low. And like I said, we have better things to spend our money on, especially given the circumstances I'm sure we're all going to go through next year.
I'll leave that up to you, Mr. Chairman. I just gave my 2 cents.
Well, or you can, if everybody else thinks it's appropriate, we could make a motion that we add this to part of the CIP in line budget item for the future, but that we start to allocate money, small amounts to it, so that however much time down the road, we have a little, rainy day fund or whatever that we can use to apply to it.
I hate to do this, guys, but I really have to jump.
Take care.
Thanks,
bye,
guys.
Pat.
All right, bye.
Thanks, Pat.
Bye, Carrie. See you.
Well, the other thing is, it's been in the town master plan for 9 years.
Oh, more than that.
Well, okay, yeah. But the most recent, I know.
But yes.
So it should be looked at. How's that?
I think we've looked at it, frankly.
Yeah.
I think we're in a mode of, if anybody approaches us, do we want to take the next step further to consider its value? Since we know already it's going to cost $20,000 just to get permits. And there's probably some slippage in there.
John, what do you think ballpark is for this thing?
I'm sorry?
What do you think the ballpark is to do this thing?
Me to build it?
Oh,
yeah.
So when we looked at it, we'd have to regrade it from I call it the old foundation. Off the road. That all the way down the hill would have to be regraded in order to make it ADA compliant.
Okay.
And put the level spots in where needed, so that you're they're allowed so much. Then we talked about doing helical piers. And Preston did this on a couple of the boardwalk sections. They come in and they drill those and then create a boardwalk, basically a decking. And that's the least expensive way to go. So that's pretty expensive trail areas.
Yeah.
Depends on how much the town does, if it was all contracted out. And right now, I can tell you right now that if I were to price it out, the numbers would be all askew because there is a very large shortage of pressure treated wood. So I'd have to kind of look at it in order to try to figure out what the mean price, assuming that pressure treated wood doesn't stay stuck where it is right now.
Okay. So.
You don't want to answer my question, okay.
Absolutely not.
Hey,
A lot of money.
Tim.
Totally
Hey,
understand.
Tim.
Yeah,
Tim, back in 2000, it was estimated at $305,000 for
That's
a
what I
6 foot wide natural trail.
yeah. Okay, I'll leave that out of the minutes then.
No,
John.
somebody should take it out.
John, wait a minute, John Dodge question, okay.
Yeah.
How do you spell
Give you
Dodge?
cross opinions.
Okay.
Seth, I need, offhand, I don't recall if this, you did say this is in our master budget, or master plan, excuse me, right? So, but we can indicate, as a board, I think we can indicate where we view its level of resident amenities. I think there's more and others and probably other parts of a trail to build.
Well, I think that's definitely the role of this board, is to make those recommendations and say what you believe the priorities are of other things. So, I mean, that is another part of this discussion as well. I mean, that's part of your role as a body, is to figure out what you believe is going to be the best use of resources for the residents that'll use the amenities in town.
Hey,
All
can I
right.
ask you a question?
Yeah.
Doug, can I ask you
Yeah.
a quick question? So all the years that I've lived here and helped with some of these master plans, the commissioners have always said that they're a guide,
Yeah.
that nothing is always set in stone in them as well. But I guess the way I'm reading this, the paper we've got in front of us, it's like saying that we should implement everything in the master plan. So I'm kind of like, what are your all's take? I had always thought of the master plan as a guide, not as everything set in stone kind of thing.
I would view it as a guide, yeah. And I think, we need a,
I mean, it is definitely a guide, and it is a laundry list of dreams of the community. I mean, that's what they are, and you shoot big. And, I've been part of multiple master plans, and, you look back after 10 or 20 years, and some you were able to implement, some you weren't able to, whether it be political resources, whether it be financial resources, whether priorities changed. And so they're definitely a guide, but they represent a vision of the community. But I wouldn't say that I will definitely agree with you, Jeff. I don't think these are a must do and you have to do it, and there's some sort of thing that happens if you don't.
is there any reason why we can't, trying to think, parliamentarianism, why, I guess we could table this as far as, an option. I mean, I don't necessarily want to lose it for the master plan, but I don't see a huge need either, or desire, frankly. So, I mean, I guess historically, this board has not necessarily sent over unsolicited proposals to the commissioners. And I think in this case, I view this as, all right, there was an opportunity that the boys presented. through their work and our work, we've determined that it's well beyond their scope. It's definitely a big project for our scope. We don't think we need to do anything with it at this point in time. But who do I send that to? I mean, the commissioners are not asking for this.
Well, what you could, so first of all, as a body, you always can make recommendations of all sort, right? You could
Right.
adopt this as your own sort of project, say this is a good idea, let's move forward. You could do other things with it, table it. You could say it's not a priority right now. I mean, all those are your options out there. So, I wouldn't classify like, the commission is absolutely asking you to do something. It's just part of another, is this something you'd like to take on?
Sure. Okay. Well, I can't make motions, guys, so I need the rest of you to guide us.
I'll make a motion to table it.
Got to be a second somewhere.
I'll second it.
All right. We have, Carrie has presented an opportunity to table this project. Tim Pike is seconded. Is there further, what kind of discussion, is there any discussion with respect to placing on the table?
So I guess is our next step that we just express to the rest of the commissioners that, hey, we looked into this, and I guess what I'm curious, what do we tell the commissioners? Or what, I guess.
I
Terry, guess
think you're
what
right.
would you need to say
When,
to the
but I think
commissioners?
we got to go, we got to make sure this works first, the table, then we can tell them why we tabled it.
Well, what do the
Right.
commissioners say about this project?
I don't think they've actually looked at it yet because we hadn't finished. Carrie, is
Right.
that right?
There hasn't been a discussion
There hasn't? Okay.
on the commissioners level. I mean, I'm personally for it.
Mhm.
But I think what we're deciding to do right now is just table the discussion, not
What's
really
in
make any
Okay.
recommendation in one way or another.
Right.
Okay. And we could bring it up down the road again. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, motion to move this to the table has been initiated by Carrie and seconded by Tim Pike.
Mhm.
Any further discussion?
No.
All right. Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor signify by saying yes, aye, hand
Aye.
up, whatever.
Aye.
Any against, nays, and no abstentions? All right, very good. Thank you, everybody, for that.
500.
What's that?
500, right? Okay.
Yes. Okay. Cruisewell road safety request.
We're gonna bring that, Ms.
Yeah,
Hobart?
is she
Well,
here?
she's just going to be waiting in the background in case you have questions for her.
Okay,
Anything from her. She clearly knows that this has been marked. It's by her home. She's happy to see this. That's basically the feedback given to me. So
Okay.
really last month, the question was, how far off are we from the technical standards that are typically required by transportation organizations? And that was one of the questions you wanted to know. And if it could be installed, where would it be located? So Mr. John Strong, our town engineer, has marked the street, as I've noted in my staff report. And we in town deviate from the 250-foot site distance already and typically use 150-foot on speed humps. And so in the worst case scenario here, we're about 8 feet short of that 150 feet. So we have 142 feet of sight distance, worst case scenario, as you look at his staff report. So he's recommending one in the best suitable location as possible. That's a staff recommendation to you. If you have any questions about just general engineering standards, general things of that nature from the last meeting that you want John to clarify, or any questions of him, he's here to answer those as well.
I think it's up to us to decide whether we're happy with that. If you looked at John's report and summary, I mean, I was fine. We're off a little bit, but we're already off a little bit in places, and we're not off so far that it makes a difference anyway. So,
John, you did a good job on this. Thank you.
You're
yeah,
welcome.
yeah, thank you.
We can use this as a reference going forward too.
Correct.
Thank you.
Good.
Hey, I did have one question. I mean, I'm totally in favor of this thing, but do we need to announce this, or send a letter or something to the people of Chiswell, or, for that small section? Do we need to let them know, or how do we? I know we've gotten input from the, the two ladies. Do we need anybody else's input, or do we need to give them an option, I guess is my question.
Do you typically in the past do that anyway? I haven't been apprised that you have.
In the past, the people have asked for speed humps, and the speed humps were looked at and selected on locations. We typically would go out and discuss it. Preston may be involved, or the town manager may be involved in location. We've, but not always. So we attempt to find a good location. We also have maybe some additional input from the citizens as far as the cases of speeding, that type of thing. But my understanding is we had 2 inputs from this this particular roadway. So that's where we're at, and that's how we got to where we are.
So Seth, did I see you in the notes? You said it's painted on the road right now, or there's lines that would show where it's at?
That's correct. John has.
So that's, I mean, in essence, I guess, if the neighbors had questions, they'd contact town hall, and it's been painted for a while. So, I just wanted to ask.
Absolutely, that's correct.
So, I mean, in essence, there is kind of a notification because it's
painted. That was my question.
I know that Miss Hobart, who was with us here, had communicated with her fellow residents around her as well. So, and yeah, I think it does meet that standard as you indicated, Jeff.
So I make a motion, we approve this, or, pass it, make a recommendation to the commissioners that they, put this in their budget to be done.
It would be a good safety precaution.
We approve the speed hump on Chiswell.
As recommended by the town manager. Excuse me, town engineer.
As recommended, okay.
I work for him.
I work for her.
You work for her.
I got you both on here.
So somebody's got to second it.
Yeah, a second.
Yeah,
I think Terry just second. Terry, did you second?
Yeah, I was, sorry, I was reaching for the mute.
Oh, okay.
So-
Keep your hand down.
All right, so it's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any nays? Abstentions? Motion carries.
And when will
Alright.
this be built? When is this going in?
Well, that's a good,
I guess I'd take it
Commissioners gotta
to
approve it
town
first.
correct, and then temperatures, whether asphalt plants are open by the time this gets through and all those sort of things, what have you. So it could potentially be early spring.
Okay.
So,
I was just curious. Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
all right, new business, yes?
Yep.
All right, Willard property proposed park space.
So as I've indicated in my staff report, the applicant is with us. I'll let them do the bulk of the speaking here, but they definitely feel that the way they've laid out this development, that they have really met the intent of what they were asked to do over a series of public meetings. They've come and spoke with you before a couple times, and they feel that they've really achieved the desire of the community. They're coming back one more time. before they go to the planning commission to just ensure that everybody's on the same page and they're really kind of meeting the intent of what you're doing. While we're here to talk about the parks, I'll stay focused on that element. But, you know, my career and background, I mean, this plan really is community sensitive driven, as I understand the history of this and what they've done. Definitely the parks they've created seem to be part of that. So what I will do is allow the applicant in so they can provide you more detail with where they're at. That element, but you know, my career background, I mean, this plan. Somebody has the YouTube on. It needs to mute. As I understand the history of this and what they've done, definitely the park. Definitely the park. All right. Jim and Billy, can you hear me?
Yes, sure can.
Well, you're now before the Board of Parks and Rec. I basically teed you up about the fact that, you know, you believe you've met what was required of you through the public input processes, the feedback information you've received from the public. And here you are here to present that to the board tonight regarding the park related area.
All right, I'll lead off, Seth, and thank you for the introduction. This is Jim Clifford, James Clifford, attorney for the Willard family. A number of the Willards are tuned in on Zoom. Billy's with us, Billy Willard's with us, as well as Dave Edgar, who's our land planner. And the three of us have been the team on this thing since the early dark days and have ridden it into the light. And now we're back with you all. It might be getting a little tedious for you all, but we feel this plan is so park centric. It's so much into your wheelhouse as a committee that we felt like this is where we had to find a home before we went further. So we're getting ready to file this thing sometime in November. And we just didn't want to file it and assume that everybody is happy with what we've done. We believe you are because you've been telling us you have been. But we're back just one more time, just to remind you all, because it's been a little while, what we're getting ready to file and see if there's any last minute. Nothing's worse than have somebody tell you they're interested in what you think, and then they go ahead and file and don't ask you for a follow-up. So we're here for a follow-up. So Dave, if Dave, I don't know if Billy has anything he wants to say, but Dave has got a small presentation to make.
Unless there's any particular questions before we get started, of course we can do Q&A afterwards, but let's let Dave run through that, please.
All right, Billy, thank you very much. This is Dave Ager. Hopefully you can see on the screen the Willard House. It's the first slide in our presentation, and thank you very much for giving us the opportunity. The second slide, which should be up on your screen now, is kind of the existing conditions. We have commercial zoning in the front of the property and residential zoning in the rear. There's 5 structures on the property that are listed in this slide. I won't go through them. You're very familiar with the site. In the next slide, this is a graphic representation of the major feedback we got from the community, and I'll just walk through it briefly, and then I'll bring up the plan and just show you how we've translated those ideas into the design of the community. Number one, of course, is some sort of limited connection to Glass Way. Members of the community said that they'd like to see an event or limited access to their, or no, some have said no access, but we're going to show a point of access in the plan. Number two, of course, is a park of about 1 acre in size located next to the John Poole House. Number three is a smaller park of about 1/4 acre in size, slightly larger than 1/4 acre, next to the town hall that would allow for a recreation component to the plan. And if you recall, the last meeting before you, or a couple of meetings back, we actually showed you three different alternatives, and the plan we're going to present is the one that everyone seemed to like and fit well within the community and allowed for interconnectivity to the right of way of the unimproved right of way of Fife Road that allows a connection, which is listed as number 9 in the scheme here, allows for a pedestrian connection linking up to the Glassway community that accesses this area through Glassway. Number 4 was a kind of a new idea of creating a visual connection between Whalen Commons and the Willard House, and then creating a visual connection from the Willard House to the John Poole House. And I'll walk you through the plan and show you how that's been done. Number 5 on the plan is a open vista in front of the Willard House, between the Willard House and Fisher Avenue. Number 6 is shown in the kind of the purple color. Again, this is not only feedback from the community, but is also in your master plan about fronting homes and buildings so that the fronts are facing Fisher Avenue and Fife. And then also looking to add homes along the park next to the John Poole House so that the fronts, the porches and the front doors face the park. So it's eyes on the park kind of idea. Number 7 is a green buffer along the north and western sides of the community. And number 8 is a connection, some sort of pedestrian connection through the community that will link the area to the east with the John Poole House and the historic district. And then finally, number 10 is to incorporate the streetscape improvements that are identified in your streetscape plan and identified in the comp plan. So the next slide is an illustration of our plan that we plan to submit. Walk you through some of these ideas. Here's Glassway. I assume you can see my cursor. Glassway. We're showing a proposed dedication of a road from Glassway to an internal road system, and we purposely created a series of traffic calming schemes in the plan that a series of stop turn conditions so that people going through the community would have to, it's not a cut through basically, but they would have to slowly go through the community with this connection. Number 2, of course, is approximately 1 acre of dedicated land proposed next to the John Poole House. Number 3 is the 1/4 acre of property that will be dedicated to the town next to the town hall for the small multi-age playground. Then our new road and sidewalk system, we purposely lined it up with the trellis network and pathway in the Whalen's Commons so that one walking along the path has a direct visual connection to the Willard House. And then as they turn the corner and walk along this street, there's a visual connection to the John Poole House. The dark green along the edge is the buffer. We have about roughly 2 acres of land that will be part of the forest conservation scheme. That includes dedicated forested areas as well as landscape areas. And we have several street trees as well. And then finally, I just wanted to illustrate how the homes are, it's a little hard to see, but we are trying to avoid driveway connections on Fife Road and on Fisher Avenue and in front of the town hall. So we have homes that have the front doors facing the Fisher, Fife, and the Whalen's Commons, but the access is off of a private driveway, a private road. And so you can see that in the plan in several locations. Same occurs along Willard, what we're calling the Willard Commons, which is identified on this picture as parcel A, which is the dedicated area next to the John Poole House. We're showing homes that front on that with a pedestrian walkway system. Sorry, a little bit of a technical problem there, apologize. And and then the sidewalk system links through the community over to Glass Way and links through the community over to the Waylands Commons. So we have good pedestrian connectivity east and west and north and south. So that's the overall kind of look at the plan. I'm certainly available for any questions you might have, but I just wanted to give you an overview of how we've integrated the desires of the community, the feedback we got, and to show you that the concept plan that we'll be submitting shortly fulfills some of the discussions we had at earlier meetings here with the commission.
Dave, if I may, this is Jim Clifford again. There are just a couple things I wanted to have you embellish. One is in the buffer on the backside of the project. That's going to have trails connectivity as well, right? We had been asked to make space available for a trail to be able to go through that area and hook up, I guess you would say east to west. Am I misrepresenting that? Dave?
Yes, I'm sorry. I was muted, tried not to talk over you, Jim. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. This is a large open space parcel. Previous discussions with John and others, that we're looking at a conservation to easement. So we'll have a planted park-like setting here, and that allows for trails to occur through this area that can meander through and actually over to the, it's a little hard to see here, but next to this home, there's an open space connectivity area. So you can get over to the John Poole house if you wanted to take the long way around. It also, this parcel allows for connectivity with the church to the north, and if the back property was ever to develop, or if the church was interested in a connection, that would further allow for further pedestrian connections to the north. So yeah, there are trails planned in that area.
The other thing is that, would you explain just a little bit more about the park across from the Wayland Commons? You had you had a variety of parks there. I think one of them incorporated the storm area, but it was, I forgot what you called it, but like not a water park, but something like that, as well as another playground, kind of an agricultural themed playground in that area, that quarter acre.
Yes, that's correct, Jim. We had three plans, some that were linear and some that were squared off, similar to the other park. The one that everyone seemed to like, and the one that's been incorporated into the plan, is a triangular shaped area, but it also it links with the unimproved portion of Fife Road, so that you can have a linear park connection here. And then we have another forested area adjacent to that, so it's going to be it's going to visually feel much larger. And you're correct, we show pedestrian connection coming through, tying in with the existing system in Waylands Commons, coming through, and then the area north of that pedestrian connection would be the recreational components. And then to the south, what we thought could be interesting for kids is to have an environmental area that can be part of the park, have it seamlessly integrate with the park. So we're looking at ideas like stepping stones, interesting, areas for landscaping with native species. There could be an interpretive component to it that would include signage that would identify the different plants. So there could be an educational component to it as well. So that was the thought process behind that park.
All right, thank you. If you added poison ivy to that park, that's sort of a self-education when you don't have to put a lot of labels out.
Yeah, right. But yeah, no invasives here. No invasives.
Right. All right, I just want to be sure those elements were further explained. Is there anything that anybody on the Parks Committee would like to know more about, or is there any further input you'd like to give us? I think you see your fingerprints are all over this already, but like to see if there's anything else.
Jim, I just had one question. Jeff McIntyre here. And when we talked about the park area over by the John Pool House, we had talked about potentially making it like a parking area as well.
Yes, yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that
I'm
still
sorry.
going to be part of the
Yep.
construction?
Yes, I'm sorry, we should have dealt with that. But David, could you explain that and the fact that we went through those options and how you came up with the land plan for the what we're calling Willard Commons?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Yeah, so the area that's outlining with the cursor, it's kind of an L-shaped area. That is what we're planning to have is like a reinforced turf that would allow for parking along there. And then if you so desired, you could also extend that parking into this lower area down along Fisher Avenue. We're showing the desire line of the pathway along Fisher Avenue to come up into the sidewalk system and then come over to the John Pool House, consistent with your streetscape plan. But the rest of the area to the north is open, with the exception of a couple of improvements. One is we're illustratively showing a location for a stormwater system that would be pretty much utilized for the park itself, and then a secondary stormwater system to the north that is necessary to provide stormwater areas for these homes in this area here in this just north of the park. So this right now we're proposing that would be excluded from the park dedication. It could be included, but we're currently looking at that being on a separate parcel. So the size of the park is just under an acre, with that excluded. And our previous meeting with you, we had said it would be just about an acre, just over an acre. And the difference is how this necessary stormwater facility will be, whether it's in the park or on a separate parcel for the HOA.
No,
Dave, readdressing this parking thing, we had discussed that overflow parking for big events for Poolsville could also be parked in the commons in the upper northern part. You had mentioned that. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's exactly right. We did a study for the in the previous meetings, and we're not showing that area to be reinforced with for traffic. That we thought that, again, this was consistent with our previous discussions, that this would be so infrequent use for parking that it would just be a grassed open area, but the reinforced turf would be right here in this location to allow for about 9 to 12 spaces, and this overall parking field would be about 22 spaces if you desire to expand it. So there's kind of three parts to that.
Okay, what's the topographical change from one end to the other? I'm trying to figure out how big the slope is.
The slope is very flat. These lines that are on the plan are 1 foot contours. So up in the highest point is up at this location here, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 feet. So it's about a 6 foot change over about 150 feet or 160 feet.
Okay. All right.
The other thing I forgot to mention, just wanted to let you know that, and John could chime in if you needed to, but we have overland flow from our neighbors that we're going to bypass into the storm system. One of those pickup points or inlets is located right here, and there would be an underground pipe somewhere in this general vicinity that would tie in with the improvements to the community to bypass that water. So there's that one there. There's another pickup point here that will also tie into this. It runs parallel to this storm facility right here.
Now, the frontage road. So this is Fisher, and there's a walking path here in yellow, right? But there's no driving. Now, the driving for driveways and entrances to driveways is back in here, right?
Yeah, let me use my cursor. Hopefully you can see it. But there's no driving for folks who live in these homes at the front of the buildings, at the front doors.
Right.
They would come into the community through either off of Fisher or off of Fife, drive back to this location right here, and then they would access the homes from the rear along this private road. So it's kind of a T-shaped road, and it provides access to each lot that is fronting on the park. So what you have in the front is the park, some landscaping, the stormwater facility, which would be landscaped, a sidewalk, and then a lead walk up to the front door of the home. And some of the homes will have front porches. The village overlay zone requires a certain percentage, a minimum percentage, to have front porches. And we're anticipating that these would be prime opportunities for that.
How many, total number of homes is what, 63?
That's correct. There's 63, one of which is the Willard House that'll be retained. So we're proposing 62 homes.
Right.
And I assume there'll be street parking in front of those homes.
That's correct. These streets are all designed under the Village Overlay Zone VOD1, VOD3, and VOD4 standards that the town adopted. And what we're proposing is at certain locations within the street system that we would have on-street parking to complement the off-street parking that's on each lot.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Did we address emergency vehicles last time?
For some of these, go ahead.
I'm sorry, the question was how do emergency vehicles?
Yeah, did we discuss it last time?
I don't recall, but let me just give you, each street is designed, the lighter color of the street is designed, the turning movements are all designed for emergency vehicles. So the street itself is a 20-foot wide accessible route for emergency vehicles. In addition to that, homes that are labeled 54, 53, and 52, and I think 57, these are slightly beyond the reach of the fire truck. So, and to avoid having the emergency vehicles come into the park, we're proposing that this part of the private road be a T turnaround. So there would essentially be, they would come into this area. There would be a station, a place for the truck to set up in both sides. It would be at least 20 feet wide, which is the standard requirement. And then they have the ability to reach each of these latchable doors within 150 feet.
Just as a note, that goes before Montgomery County for the fire marshal to review and.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, John, thanks for reminding us, but I just wanted to mention that that's been anticipated, and we were very careful not to just make the park the accessible route. We're trying to avoid that.
One of the things that this Jim Clifford again, that I didn't remind everybody is that this is I'm not going to call it a miniature village, but this is a pocket village. These houses are about half the size or less of most of the houses are being built and filled in the whole Poolsville area. They're homes that run about 1,200 to 1,800 square feet, much, greatly reduced. They're to meet a sweet spot that we projected from a survey that we did of the community, where people wanted entry houses and move down houses. Billy's constantly being bombarded by people at church and all that say, hey, when are you going to have our house ready? We want to move down, into a smaller house. Well, that's what these houses are going to be. These are not large houses. These aren't 3,500, 4,500 square foot houses. They're much smaller, 12 to 1,800 square feet, maybe knocking on the door of close to a 2,000 if there's some options on some of the models, but it's a relatively small house community, as was requested by many of the people we spoke to.
Yeah.
A glassway, since it's not a roadway, but is it going to be the path large enough to bring vehicles in and maybe even have a gate system? So like when we close down for Poolsville Day, these people need to be able to leave. And if we could set it up so we can have a, just a temporary, swing a gate, and people could drive out to our Poolsville Day event. It's something, did we think about that at all?
Preston, we've left, Dave has planned enough on that particular element of this plan to be anything you guys want it to be.
That's
If you
just
want
my
it to
thought.
One of the
Yeah.
things that I'm going to bring up, Preston, is that this actually becomes a roadway connection and that we install some speed humps between the community again to slow this up. You know, as you looked at the vehicle circulation in this collective setting, let's say we call it a vehicle shed, you know, it's not going to be convenient to come off Fishner Avenue necessarily to get back to Tama 1. The truth is most of it's going to be more convenient for the residents of Tama 1 to be able to get out to the post office or a couple other places, because you're probably going to go to Cattail or come off the other direction off 109 in terms of, you know, time, because there's multiple turns here and they're all not terribly convenient to make this some accessible way. That's one of the things I'm going to recommend to the planning commission, that actually becomes sort of a road connection and they can make that determination. But I want to be careful as we start to head down this path that, you know, we don't tread on the planning commission's role as much as the layout of the parks area to some extent.
So we want to know if you guys are happy with what you're looking at as far as the park system and road system goes. Does it seem to be consistent with everything we've talked about? And are you pleased with what you're looking at?
I like it.
Tim, that was you?
Well, you got an overwhelming response on that, Billy. I don't know what happened.
It's out there.
Mr. Chairman, how about you? Are you pleased with?
Yeah, I'm good with it. It looks very familiar. Granted, you know, I'm getting older, so anything, you know, kind of has to be burned into my brain for me to remember it. But it looks pretty much like we talked about some of the things and options' idea, especially the hard grass, so to speak, or you know, for occasional parking. Yeah, I think it addressed the concerns that we had in the best way that you guys could present them.
Okay.
Actually, I do have a question. So the frontage road on Fisher, so there's going to be a sidewalk. Is it going to be a street break sidewalk? Or grass again. So yeah, so Frederick, so Fisher Avenue, and then curb and gutter on that, then a section of grass or bushes, and then the sidewalk.
Yes.
Is that the order?
Yes, this is Dave Ager. That is the plan. We're proposing curb and gutter with breaks in the curb and gutter, and there will be a stormwater and landscaping between the curb and gutter and the sidewalk. And then, consistent with your streetscape plan, the sidewalk is going to be 8 feet in that area.
Right.
And then there's a couple feet behind the sidewalk to the property line. There'll be a PUE running there, and then the porches will be just behind the PUE.
Okay. What's PUE again?
The utility easement for the
Oh, right, okay.
dry utilities.
So how high will the foliage or whatever it is that's put on Fisher Avenue as a buffer between Fisher Avenue and the property lines and the houses? What is that contemplated to be?
Well, we haven't selected the actual plant material yet, but it's intended to have a series of street trees. You can see them in the plan.
Mm-hmm.
They're located here, and then there would be a low kind of low bush and ground cover type of planting in that general area to be a part of the stormwater system and also landscaping. But we're not suggesting anything very tall. We're looking at, probably a couple feet of height, a couple, 3 feet of height, something like that. But we haven't selected the actual plant material yet.
And the final intent would be for the town to maintain that?
Well, that
You have an
area,
HOA, right?
sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, but
No,
that
I
area,
don't think you have an HOA, do you?
there will be an HOA, but that area that we're talking about right now is within the public right of way. So that would be within the dedicated right of way for the road. And so
Okay.
that area would be part of
That makes sense.
town,
Yeah.
town maintenance.
Okay. Just wanted to know.
Dave, can you give me just a little bit of more details on that, the small park area on the right? Was that multi-age, or was it going to be, like things that kids play on, that kind of thing, or is it?
Yeah, we right now at this concept level, we've shown general locations for facilities that's these dashed areas here. So there's actually four stations, one of which would be for older children, the 5 to 12-year-olds. But it would be the feedback we got from the community and from the town, it's multi-age. It has to have some level of accessibility planned into it. It has to integrate with the sidewalk system, so it's part of the, it's kind of a node on the walking trail. And so yes, and then likely there'll be a bench or two for sitting for the moms, dads, and folks that want to just enjoy the park and that sort of thing. So we'll get into that more in detail as we work through the process with you, but we did do an early sketch that we can include in the application just as a reminder. But we haven't kind of spec'd out any facilities or anything like that yet.
Yeah,
Right.
Dave, just if I can interrupt for a minute, there were some things the moms of Poolsville gave us ideas on during our meeting with them that we all agreed were good. They like the idea of having swings there. They like the idea of an ag theme. They wanted a real tot lot, but at the same time, there was some discussion about there are adult children, autistic and others who also need a place to go. And they would like to think that the playground would serve their needs as well. There was a need for picnic tables, or tables, I should say, and sitting areas so that people could eat lunch while their kids played in the playground. They wanted to be sure it wasn't out in the broiling sun, that there were trees and shade that were made available. And they wanted to be sure we stayed away from rubber kind of surfaces because they heat up and smell too much. So we got a lot of good ideas from the moms. The location of the park was one that they wanted to be able to be in the commons and have a visual straightaway to the playground to see the kids. So I think all of those ideas will be incorporated and discussed and part of what we try to do as we go forward.
Sounds good. Yeah, I like it. Thank you.
Sure.
So I think the best way, any more questions, guys? I think the best way, because this is going not to the commissioners, but it's going to the planning commission. I think that we should make an affirmative vote that we have reviewed it and we are comfortable with, what's there. And in that regard, move it, effectively move it over to the planning commission and let them do what they got to do to it.
And Doug, don't they come back to us anyway after the actual, the planning commission? I mean, don't they refer to us after? Because this hasn't even been a formal, hasn't actually been, they haven't submitted it yet. So don't they?
I believe that's correct.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm thinking this is just a informational,
This is a courtesy.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Gotcha.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
That was a step ahead. Okay.
Just
Yep.
have our discussion, but I appreciate you guys being here.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes it a lot easier for us to kind of, know what you're doing and for us to be able to think about how it may or may not affect us rather than scrambling at the end.
Right. Yeah. But like we said from the very beginning, we really started with the parks concepts, the parks elements, and then built the community.
Of course you did.
Well, we
You're
were told
supposed
that's, we were told that was the right way to do it.
Hey, I found it interesting during the commissioners Q&A for the new commissioners that, they were asking questions about your all's property. I knew more answers than they did.
Yeah, right.
Because you
Yeah.
guys had been to us multiple times.
We had a lot of ground, we had a lot of damage control to do because I don't believe you guys ever got brought into the loop on the
Oh, the
first
first
go
time,
around.
yeah, the first time. we went.
Yeah.
And we shared that experience with you because we weren't brought into the loop either. So,
But no, this has been a
All
great
right.
experience. This has been good.
Yeah, this is great.
Thank
Good.
you so much.
thank you
Thank
all
you.
very much.
Okay, have a good
Billy,
night.
any parting words, Billy?
Well, only that, and we've reiterated, that our family's desire is, we're not builders and developers, but whatever goes here, we'd like it to look the same, parks included, the homes, the streetscapes, the parks, 30, 40 years down the road, it still is there. It's built to last. And that's our objective.
All right, good.
Thanks,
Thanks
Billy.
very
Thank
much.
you, gentlemen.
Thank you
Very
all.
much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey.
Good night.
Thanks, Seth. Thank you, Seth.
Thank you. You're welcome, Jim.
All right, so I don't see any further new business or more new business. So we're off to Preston.
Hey, hang on. Can I cut in before we jump?
Well, yeah.
I just had two questions. We talked, I guess it was a month or so ago about the Hughes and Tom Fox stop sign. I know Preston's
Yes.
been away been out of town, but has anything developed that way?
I got all the materials to get it done. I just need some time. That's where it's
Right.
at.
Yeah, no, I know you just got back. Yeah, I know. I just
Well,
wanted to chime
even
in.
that,
make
I
sure we
mean,
got it.
Because right now, I believe it or not, Monday I start putting Christmas lights on.
Yeah.
Because it takes us over 2 weeks to get stuff ready now.
Yeah.
And even though we're not even having an official ceremony, we're putting 99% of the stuff up. So, and then I have trees that are being delivered. And once I have the time, because it needs to be laid out, because we're going to do a little additional, we're not just going to put a stop sign up. We're going to put a stop because it's kind of an unusual intersection, especially if you're coming into town.
Yep.
It's offset to the right. So what I did, I purchased some signage. I also purchased some rumble strips we'll put in. And then we also purchased a stop ahead, which will be heated and adhered to the road when it's coming to town, because it's so far offset that the stop sign is going to come upon people really quick. It's just going to be coming from west to east.
Now those rumble strips, where are they going to be mounted?
On the road. I mean, heated and adhere. Here, they're not real aggressive. They're just enough that
They're like the white ones you see. You kind of go across them. They're not really.
Yes.
They're not asphalt.
They're like 4 inches wide.
Maybe an inch and a half tall or something.
4 inches and maybe only a half inch, 3/4 inches high. Just enough that you can hear it. Because when you're coming, Doug, what I'm talking about. If you're coming in, that sign is so far off to the right.
Yep.
Nobody's going to see that. And the time they see it, they're going to be through the intersection. So what we're trying to do, just say heads up, coming on, just making sure everybody knows it's coming. I don't know how we haven't had a tragic accident.
Oh, there's,
in all honesty.
I've seen a couple in real life, and I've seen a couple after the results. Unfortunately, nobody's ever been hurt. Who knows why? But nobody's ever been hurt because they're going far more than 25 miles an hour. But that also leads me to, and this is kind of
Come on, Doug. That's my follow-up.
What's your follow-up? What?
The speed humps that we'd always talked about on Hughes.
Yes.
Now that we own Hughes.
Yep. I got people asking, when are we going to put them up? When are we put them in?
Right. So
that's kind of why I mean.
Yeah, I walk.
Yeah, that's
I
why I'm
walk
asking
that
with
road every
respect to
day.
that's why I'm asking with respect to the rumble strips. Because I don't want to send good money after bad.
But the rumble strips weren't that expensive, Doug, in all honesty.
Okay.
And they can be even treated as a temporary thing until we do get some speed humps in
Okay.
on the road. You know, we're talking like $400 or $500 that we're spending on this. So
Yeah.
it's not like the end of the world, but in all honesty, with the best case scenario, redoing that whole road, it's a couple years out. I would have to say,
Yeah.
where I'm hoping to have this sign and everything by, or end of this month or first week of December, have that in place, and then even if it's next year, if Seth
Yeah.
can work his magic to get things done.
Yeah.
And maybe, but I don't know. I don't know where the
So
money
let me
is.
jump
Seth
in,
knows that.
let
It
me
all
jump
depends
in.
on the monies.
Yeah, let me jump in globally a little bit, is that, start here is that, yeah, Preston's been tied up with some other smaller miscellaneous projects as well, on a few things, and we've talked about this, so definitely, and a couple of those I've sidetracked them on. And then to the road work, definitely very much a candidate for some speed humps in the future. John and I have talked about both Westerly and Hughes, and hopefully be able to maybe put those in the 23 budget cycle, but it really gets paved in the summer of 22. So you're talking about 2 years from now when the next paving cycle comes through. And maybe that's when we can add those. If the board feels that we might need to add a few rumble strips, just kind of catch people's attention as they go in the meantime, because I can chat with John. I mean, I know we've milled around the speed hump that was on, or that is on, Cattail, so we could do something like that. But we know the road needs a leveling course and some other things, because obviously it almost has some inherently built-in speed, rumble stripped into it anyway with this rough condition on the further down section. So, we just have to look where we want to place those. But if it's a smoother paved sections, we can assess that. We could put on the board, on the agenda, and take a look at it.
I think particularly at that intersection, I've also realized that, well, we as a board suggested that we do stop sign and all that at Fisher and Hughes, or Hughes and Tom Fox. Going the other direction, in other words, coming into town. There's no stops from River Road forward until you get to the end of Tom Fox Avenue on the other end of me.
Yeah.
So just something to think about. I mean, should we, the thought process would be, do you put a stop sign in while at the point in which you are entering Hunter's Run? Because before that car started down at River Road and has just continued up at the same 40, 45 mile an hour, faster speed as when it left River Road.
What's
It
that?
occurred to me, is it
script
somebody,
there?
John, do you want to say anything?
Yeah.
Good. Sorry.
So what you're asking for is a mid-block stop sign, because there's no.
Yeah, I know. It's a stop sign on a T. I know, and it's
which
not
creates all kinds of issues.
Yeah.
So probably what you want to do is put some speed mitigation in there.
Yep.
Before you at the boundary lines or somewhere just past the boundary lines.
Yeah.
So that you actually mitigate your speed before you enter any cross sections such as Tom Fox, your first piece.
Yeah.
So you probably want to put in some type of mitigation there rather than putting a stop sign. One of the problems is if you do not have enough traffic coming through a particular intersection or an area, then what they call warrants, you end up with people just they know the stop sign's there, but they blow through it, ignore it.
Yeah.
So you want to go ahead and approach it in a different manner to.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what yes. And I'm thinking that, stop sign, no real value. I think we look at speed humps at that point again, and coming into town on Tom Fox, and that helps some. It's got to. I mean, I'll stand out there I'll borrow a gun from somebody, a speed gun.
One of the things that we'll need to Preston, you may know better than I. Hughes Road, do they use a lot of ag equipment through there? I didn't know if
Yes.
Jameson's.
Not a
Yeah,
lot.
Bobby and there's some other ones down in there.
Yeah.
So, and that still has a pretty good use with the some of the ag equipment.
Yeah.
You figured right there at Hughes and Tom Fox. I mean, right down to there's a farm right there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so speed humps may not be the practical way to approach it. It may be some other type of mitigation so the ag equipment can function a little better. But we'll have to.
They,
we'll
they
have to
can't
take a look
go.
at that.
They can't go over those speed humps we have now.
I don't know. I mean, they're not designed for that. They're designed for longer wheeled based vehicles.
Right.
So I'd have to find out. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. But yeah, that's going to come up too. So, all right. So
Yeah,
did you
thanks. I
finish
just wanted to bring
Preston?
that up because I know we talked about it.
Oh yeah. No, thanks, Jeff.
I got one more thing before Preston. Did we ever look into the ownership of the path from Dr. Walling to McKernan Way? We talked about it last time briefly.
I've
one
actually
that-
shot an email off to Jay Gullo, our town attorney, on this.
Okay,
And
thank
so
you.
He's gonna look into it as time allows.
Okay, thanks.
Preston, you good? That it?
Yeah, like I said, I just kind of led into what I got. And actually, I had a question for Terry. Is Terry Pierce still on?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Hey, Terry, does everybody like the mound we got put in at Stevens? Are they happy with that?
Yes, very happy, and I'm making sure that they are trying to take care of it and keep it as in good shape as possible.
Great.
As long as possible.
Great. It seems to be wearing well though, with that clay and everything. So we should be good.
Yeah, I
all the
think
way
so.
around on that.
Yep. Yeah, a little bit of touch up with ball field dirt kind of thing, but that's about it. And with all the rain that we had Thursday, I guess, Stevens really held up well.
Yeah, the drainage system we got put in this spring, that worked well.
Not only the field, but around the mound too. So that's great.
Good. I'm glad that worked out for you guys. But anyways, like I said, I have trees coming in, Christmas lights coming in. I would like to address the stop sign. I have everything here. We also had delivered today the components to put in our 200 amp service up at Wayland. And so we can increase our power footprint for our events up there. Because as you guys know, Wayland was originally not really designed to handle our events. It was just basically to have a few lights, which draw very little amperage. Well, of course, you see all the generators and stuff for the vendors and stuff. So now we've moved on to the next level. We're actually going to have designated 20 amp services throughout the park. So the events, the people who run the eateries and some of the blow up balloons will have access to power, and that gets away from generators, which gets the noise out of there.
Noisy, yeah.
Also, and that's on our on the horizon. It's not going to happen because with the corona, our event schedule. But that I will try to address that in the next coming months. Also, so like I said, you guys will see the Christmas stuff going up next week, and then the new trees throughout the town.
Cool.
And also,
good.
you know, as Preston was stating about the electrical, the existing sort of electrical system is overtaxed, so they would get blowouts and you know, fuses popping and the breakers popping. So should help alleviate that. If you've ever been with events, you know the day's hectic enough without trying to chase down electrical issues as well. So one way to help solve some of those issues. But I appreciate Preston taking some time on this. Another thing he's been tied up with.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, Carrie, you're up.
I just wanted to also put a plug in for those pickleball courts again. I've gotten to get over there a couple Fridays and play pickleball with the folks. And in fact, Jeff, I've gotten to meet your father. He has kicked
he's
my butt couple
a
times
regular.
with pickleball. But they're great.
He
And
loves it. He loves it.
oh my gosh, they're well loved. You guys, I mean, I go over there and all 4 of the courts are being used and there's people waiting to play. So
That's great.
I really think we done good with that. Our last meeting was in October, and we probably spent majority of our time on 2 things. One was the logistics of the election that we just had yesterday, which I think went off really well. I was really impressed with the way that staff set everything up.
Let me ask you.
Thanks in particular to our elections board, who all took shifts all day yesterday, and special thanks to Bobby Evans, who really, she just, I mean, I went over there yesterday to turn in my ballot, and I was just like, wow, it looks fantastic. They did a great job. And the other thing that we did at our last meeting is we honored Val Dickerson, who served two terms as commissioner and decided not to run again this time. So the commissioners did a proclamation for her. And we had our state senator join us, and he said some kind words about Val, and Andrew Friedson, our District 1 County Councilman, attended as well. So that was great. And we canceled our meeting on Monday because we were trying to be merciful to our 2 colleagues who were running for re-election the next morning.
Hey, Terry, do you know why it's going to take till like what I heard, October 10?
November 10th.
No, oh yeah, October, yeah, the whole year. No,
Yeah,
October,
so
November, yeah.
Right. So we did, of course, mail-in ballots.
Yeah.
We sent mail-in ballots to all registered voters in Poolesville. And we gave them until yesterday. They could postmark their ballots up until yesterday at 5 p.m.
Okay.
So that means that we'll get ballots in today, tomorrow, possibly even Friday. And so the idea was, and this was something that the elections board really did take a lot of time thinking through, they just decided to keep everything clean, that they would wait a full week and they'll count all of the votes on the 10th and make the announcement then. Did I get that right, Seth?
That's absolutely correct. Yep. It's a decision by the Board of Elections. Just in case there was any other mail issues, with all the mail-in voting throughout the country, this allowed time for them to come in.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Good chance to get
Move we
it.
adjourn.
And
I did it. I move we adjourn.
Yeah. Tim, you second it? Who seconded it?
Yeah, whatever.
All right. Moved and seconded. Any further?
8:59, guys.
8:50, we're out of here at 8:59. Yes, aye. Goodbye. Aye. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good
Have
evening.
a good week, guys.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thanks, Deb.
John, thanks for that write-up. That was good.
Hi, guys.
You're welcome. Anytime.